So welcome back to the Empower Hour, a podcast powered by Youth Ottawa and part of our Empower Tomorrow campaign, where we spotlight youth, leaders, and community builders shaping Ottawa today. On this episode, we're excited to welcome Julian Hodge, president of COJA, that's Club Optimiste de Jeunes Adultes. Pardon my French, Julien. But it's an organization that's youth-led. It's focused on empowering young people through leadership, civic engagement, and community-driven initiatives. Most recently, Julian and COJA hosted a powerful civic engagement day at Franco-Cité, École, secondaire, Catholic, where 120 students came together to meet guest speakers, participate in a mock vote, and explore how they can take action, showing that leadership has no minimum age. We'll also talk about COJA's upcoming basketball fundraiser, an event that blends sport, community, and purpose to raise funds for youth programming they deliver across the city. Julian's story is a powerful reminder of what happens when youth are supported, trusted, and given the platform to lead. Welcome, Julian.
For having me. I'm excited for the conversation.
Absolutely. So maybe let's get into talking about that last event at Franco-Cité. From your perspective, what was it like to plan something like that, and how did it go?
Honestly, I mean, after the fact, it's really just fun to look back on it and think about everything that we were able to do with it. And I think the biggest thing that to me was it was our first time trying this model of project organization. So pretty much as a team, we're a relatively small team here in Ottawa. People just focused on wanting to be a part of the community and wanting to have an infrastructure to kind of do that. But because we are a small team, we're all university students, we're very busy people. Obviously, we got to try to figure out ways to impact the community without, making it our full-time job. So for this project, we decided to make a model where essentially we had a few of our team members take up some key roles, and then we went out to the community, talked to organizations like Youth Ottawa to kind of recruit different youth and young adults that were specifically interested in being a part of this project. So a lot of people were people that are either studying in politics, but also there were people from a bunch of different domains like civil engineers or high schoolers that are thinking about going in biology. Like, it was really just giving youth and young adults from a wide range of interests an opportunity to kind of see how organizing a project could work. And we really had conversation with them about what kind of role would most interest them. To me, that's been the most exciting part about everything, has been kind of talking to youth and seeing what their interests are and giving them an opportunity to kind of do it in a real world setting. So whether that's, for example, we had an engineer who is currently studying at Carleton. She just kind of wanted to learn a bit more about how to create reports, how you can look at data and use it in a real practical way. So now she's our project evaluator. So she's the one who's basically, based on all the conversations, the organizing processes, and everything she was able to observe throughout the organizing process and on the actual day of the event, she's making the reports for us so that we can make sure the next version's even better. So being able to actually help people learn things that interest them through that real impact has been really fun. I think it went well, and I think all the youth that were involved with organizing had fun. Then, of course, the actual event itself with 100 plus youth that we were able to impact, being able to get them there, focusing on having a really engaging, interesting event that kind of meets them where they are, was just a really fun thing to see. It was my first time in my experience where I was able to really have a full team around me to where I was just there to help out. It was really, in a lot of ways, that project wasn't my project in any way. It was a product of our full team. Different people had crucial roles within it. And at the day of, just the feeling of seeing different people handling everything, moving around, just kind of operating independently, but also working as a team was something that was a great feeling. And then being able to talk to the youth afterwards and seeing that they actually had fun, they got to learn things. We were able to bring in somebody who's recently retired, high-level lawyer within the government. We were able to bring in someone who's an entrepreneur who really has done a lot of work in social entrepreneurship. They were able to kind of show youth the different ways you can have an impact on the community beyond just politics, but also we got to teach them how accessible and how easy it is to decide to vote and go out and do that type of thing when that happens. So overall, I had a great time with the event. I think it was fun, and I'm excited for next year if we do some more of them.
Well, I can tell you too, I was a beneficiary of that team because I remember the communication. In fact, I think Ryan was part of that communications team, but super organized, as Youth Ottawa supporting that event. I knew when it was. I was asked for a certain amount of information that you needed way in advance. Like it was really, really project managed well. And that's a testament to the team that you were able to build. One funny thing is we saw the pictures from the event and you're only in one and you're like got a table over your shoulder.
I was relaxed. That was
But no, great job on that. I know Adam, kind of the project manager for Youth Ottawa, was there promoting the Ottawa Youth Council, and he said like easily there was 10 kids that wanted to sign up on the spot. So this group that we're building, that you've been a part of building, is only growing from that.
great to hear. Yeah, I'm a big guy when it comes to synergy, collaboration, and I'm not a big fan of silos. You know, they have their place out in the country, you know, holding our grains, but outside of that, I don't see why we need them. So.
Well said, well said. So if is this something that you would see needing to be or should be happening at multiple schools multiple times a year, or is one enough?
To be honest, like this whole time, I really saw this first project at Franco-Cité as a pilot project. Every aspect of it was really geared towards seeing, is this a feasible project? Whether it's like on the financial side, how much would it cost to do something like this? In terms of work, how many people do we need to organize this? What kind of organizations do we want to get involved? How can that look? And a lot of like the actual infrastructure we're able to kind of build within COJA to make things as efficient as possible next time. We saw this as a pilot project and our goal is to expand it. The true goal of the project is to just really increase the level of civic engagement and also specifically municipal voting rates among youth, because right now it's absolutely terrible, to be honest.
Right.
At the federal level, it's solid. It's okay. At the provincial level, it's slightly worse, but still decent. At the municipal level, the youth voting rates from 18 to 30 is terrible. So that has huge effects on youth, because arguably youth are some of the people that are the most affected by municipal decisions, yet they're the least kind of represented in those conversations because they don't vote. So the goal is really to start engaging people not when they're 19, 20, 21 in university already, when their lives are up to here and they're
super busy.
They're super busy, they're struggling. It's hard to learn a new thing like that. Our goal is really to start trying to engage them in high school. When high school is the only institution that exists in Canada where everyone is going through it, so we see that as the place that youth have to learn about how to vote. There are civics classes, but we see what we're doing as kind of supplementing that in a much more like kind of way that's focused on action, that's focused on engagement, focused on experience. So we kind of want to, for next year, take this pilot project and expand it to more schools. So our objective is next year to work with 10 different local high schools, which would be a couple thousand youth, and also, as I was kind of explaining, get even more youth involved in the organizing process as well, because we think at a little bit of an upstream level, we're able to impact a high amount of youth through these projects, a few hundred youth at a time.
Yep.
But it's really at the same time through that downstream of those individual organizers that are going to be like influencers within their friend groups, within their communities, that are really going to be able to advocate on a day-to-day basis, on a year-to-year basis, to tell their friends and family go out to vote. So the project the goal with this project is really to expand it in as sustainable a way as possible, and to where it can like last beyond just my involvement. I want it to grow beyond me. But for next year specifically, we want to expand to 10 different schools and do it throughout that school year.
Right.
Because at the same time, during 2026 in Ottawa, that's the municipal elections. So we think that there's a lot of potential there to kind of lean into that and say like, it's important to vote. A lot of you are turning 18 this year, and it's happening in a few months. So we want to lean into that.
So, I think you touched on a few things when we talk about like, and maybe some people wonder this, like how does Youth Ottawa fit with an organization like COJA that's doing similar things? And I think you just you just hit the nail on the head, where it's almost like a Russian nestled doll, right? So here we are, Youth Ottawa is trying to support you in doing that work, because you're going to have more of an impact with those peers in your circles of convincing them that getting involved and voting is important. But then also now you're doing it on another level, which is your activities are inspiring other young people to figure out how they can do that too. So
Exactly.
the impact can grow and scale quite rapidly. What was the experience working with the school? So like Franco-Cité, were they able to offer you some support? Were they helpful in helping organize this? How would your experience with Franco-Cité inform maybe working with another school? And what is like critical that the school does to support something like this?
Yeah, so I think, again, related to that idea of this being a pilot project, we wanted to keep as many controlled variables as possible. so we decided to go with a school that, so I am from, I'm alumni from Franco-Cité, so I had direct contacts at the school. I was able to talk to the guidance counselor at that school and essentially pitch my idea. We had a conversation with her and the vice principal and the principal and made sure everything was like something that would interest them.
Right.
And then from there, we were able to kind of have communications every few weeks to make sure everything was good, get some details confirmed. And I think for me, it was a very smooth process because we already had that relationship.
Right.
She was my guidance counselor for 4 years during high school, which is incredibly helpful, and she trusted me because I think working with schools historically for any organization is incredibly difficult because earning that trust is just not easy. But I think once you have that relationship, it can be a lot more straightforward. So specifically with them, their school provided all the equipment that we needed for the event. They provided the space, which is a huge thing.
Yep.
They provided the youth, and they kind of just whenever possible were kind of able to give us ideas and give us kind of some insights as to particularities of the venue, particularities of those specific classes that could help us make sure the event was as smooth as possible.
Right.
Now, I think the biggest issue when it comes to applying that to other schools is that obviously I didn't go to every high school, right? So trying to figure out how we can properly explain the success of this event and properly explain how much we were able to kind of make sure it was done safely. It was done properly. There was nothing, there was no risks involved.
Right.
So that we can, when we present it to other schools, we're presenting almost a finished product. That's a lot easier for them to say yes or no to. But I think building those relationships with schools is something that happens well in advance. So I guess the main focus is to create a proper report explaining how this project went, building those relationships with other schools, and eventually as we kind of get as we're more well known for doing this and we've done it with different schools, we're hoping that it's going to be something that we can talk to the school boards about and go from there.
Word will spread, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I think it is going to be a huge barrier kind of talking to new schools. The first time that we'll have to talk to a school that we hadn't talked to previously, it's going to be a difficult thing because we don't have any direct connections there.
Yeah.
But I think in my view, the number one like goals of the school or the things they can provide is the facilities. They can provide the youth, and they can provide kind of just the baseline supports needed.
Well, and you did that, correct me if I'm wrong, like during school hours, right?
Exactly.
So
that's
like
big
making
thing.
the space for you to come in and do that while you're on like school hours, right? Is also important. Do you think that do you feel that kids would show up if it was after school or on a weekend or something?
That's the tough thing. Like that personally, I've done different projects where you're just sending out a message to as many youth as possible and hoping they're able to make it. And part of it is whether or not they want to on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. You know, like you can try to accommodate for what's best for them, but it's always difficult with those facilities. But also beyond that, there's transport. There's like the cost of getting from point A to point B. Like not only are the buses tough to use sometimes in Ottawa, it's not cheap for a lot of youth, right? So understanding the transport barriers, understanding that a lot of youth have part-time jobs, understanding that people have other commitments as well, having it be during school hours, especially considering it's something that's very educational, something that is in a part of the curriculum at schools. I think it's something that has to be during school hours. It can be done outside of that, but then it becomes a very different project.
Yeah.
So it should really be part of something that's enhancing the curriculum to some extent.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. And that's kind of what you thought was always trying to do is like embed within the system that we have, right? Mm-hmm. Like why would we go and think about building another building when there's a vacant school right here, right? We leverage the facilities and the infrastructure that we've all collectively paid for as Canadians. So you're not done, right? You're in university still, and you're planning your next COJA event. So maybe for the audience listening, you could maybe go into what's coming up next.
Oh, I'm excited for this one. So pretty much our two major projects for like this school year, which is kind of how our calendar works, are the COJA Civic Engagement project, which was Faut qu'on s'engage at Franco-Cité, and the COJA Game. So that's the next one that's coming up, the COJA Game. It's actually happening on June 6th, next Friday, from around 5 to 7 o'clock. And it's happening at École catholique Jeunes. Very excited for that one. Essentially, it's a all-star type of game between youth and adults. The goal is Team Now, some of the best players right now in Ottawa, against Team Next, the up-and-coming people that are going to kind of be carrying the mantle of basketball in Ottawa for the next decade. So I'm very excited for that. We have some high level university players, college players, high school players, and also some ex pros that are coming out.
So just to stop you there, tell me the process of going and getting and recruiting these high profile players. How do you do that?
I mean, honestly, I think in our case, it's really a question of, because we were in that space, because I played competitive basketball, I kind of knew a lot of the people already. But also, I think one thing that's tough is not, you don't have too much bias towards who you happen to know, right? So it's trying to go in those institutions that exist already in Ottawa that's supporting basketball, whether that be different clubs in Ottawa, whether that be like potentially like the college and university teams talking to the coaches, trying to just kind of reach out to all the institutions that exist, collaborate with them, and then from there see some of the players that'd be interested in that. So especially on the players side, huge shout out to Andrew Piaf specifically. He's my, I don't even know his role, but he's anything related to basketball, that's Andrew. Nice. He's played a huge role in that. It's really, I think, the biggest next step for next year, or things for next year, is trying to expand both. This event is going to be majoritively just it's men's basketball for the most part, but trying to expand so that next year would be both men's and women's basketball, and trying to work with those institutions.
I love that. And I mean, basketball, we've talked about this. I mean, a lot of folks are working on basketball as an empowerment activity, right? You mentioned Leo Doyle, who's founded the Ottawa Basketball Network. And I think the summit, I was just checking on my phone.
Oh, wait, that's happening soon. Yeah.
It's coming up in June, right? So every year they host an Ottawa Basketball Summit, but it's a place where we can just kind of, everyone involved in the sport in the city can come together and like share kind of the challenges and their vision and their goals. And I know that you've been a part of that in the past, but what, you know, when you look at like this event, and I was there last year, so this is the second time.
Yeah, the second time the COJA Game was happening.
It was fire. You know, you had gifts like 50-50s going on. It was pretty packed. The game action was really exciting too, because it had a different vibe. Like maybe you can describe the actual game vibe compared to a high school game or you know, even a university GG's or Ravens game.
Yeah, like I think it is a very, I always tell, whenever I'm explaining the game, people always kind of, it always catches them by surprise a bit, right? Yeah. Because that idea of putting youth, you know, 11, 12th graders up against these university players just seems so unfair to people. But I think what it does is it really forces youth to play a level of competition they never played before, a level of physicality that they never played before, and kind of be more creative with what they're doing. It forces them to really lean on the strengths they have. They're jitterbugs out there. They're running. They're going place to place, and kind of lean on those strengths. And at the same time, with a lot of the more veteran players, they're a little bit slower. They're a little bit more tired, but they have that IQ. So you really get to see kind of a nice duality between these two different ways of playing the game of basketball that I really enjoy. And then like last year, it was just a really cool thing to see these different generations of basketball all kind of working together. So it's like Steve Georgopoulos has this idea of intergenerational synergies. I think this is a game to actively show what that is, what that can be. So I'm excited for that.
I love it. And then also like to that, you know, to your point, like everyone's very supportive of each other, and there's a little bit of showboating going on. I remember last year some guy was doing some awesome stuff, and like it's about getting the crowd pumped, and it's for a good cause. And I think like you captured that spirit when you go there. So we're, you know, at Youth Ottawa, we're super excited for this. And tell the audience that's watching this like how they can support, how they can show up for you.
I mean, I'd say the biggest thing for events like this is really just do your best to just come out and watch. You know, like it's
that place, right?
We want to pack the place. We want energy.
How many people can you fit in the gym?
The maximum we can fit in the gym is 350 people, including the players and stuff. So our goal is to sell 320 tickets to the event, pack the gym, bring the energy, have some fun, and have the communities really come around this beautiful game that brings so many opportunities.
So Julian's made the call. We need 320 people showing up, buying tickets for next Friday. So that's the call.
Just search up, either go to our Instagram, and I'm sure the information will be linked all around the socials, but it's COJA, so COJA Beacon Hill, one word. Or you could just search up the COJA Game on the internet, and you should find it through Eventbrite for all the tickets and stuff.
Yeah,
and hope to see you there.
Youth Ottawa, you can find it. We're going to be sharing a lot of this stuff, including some clips from this podcast all week about it. So you can also go to Youth Ottawa to see it and get your tickets. But that's going to be hype.
I'm excited.
Maybe as the last thing we can chat about today, Julian, is you know, talk about your last year. Like last fall, You won the RBC 21 under 21. It's not your first award, but it was a big one for you, and like it's almost, you know, coming up now to the next October will be a full year. You know, what has that recognition done for you, if anything, and also kind of how has your life changed in the last year?
The last year has been a long one in the best way possible. That's the easiest way I can put it in short. But essentially, I think once you win an award like RBC 21 under 21, it just kind of shows that you've been putting in a lot of work for a lot of time. It kind of just makes it that much, adds a little bit of credibility to your name, right? Because one issue that a lot of youth find, whether, you know, you're 16 in high school or you're 24 out of university, getting that credibility, getting that trust from people can be really tough. So I think having an award like the RBC 21 under 21 has kind of just made me known by people that would have never known me otherwise. It's made it so, like, I'm far from famous, but it's made it so when I'm in rooms sometimes, I can introduce myself and people have heard about me through some of Youth Ottawa's different like promotions related to RBC 21 under 21. So I think the biggest thing for the last year has been a lot of just starting to build things more and more with COJA and having fun with all those projects. It's been studying at university, which of course is important, and then also just trying to find some balance in my life so it's sustainable for the long term, right? That's been the biggest thing over the last year, and I'm excited for the next year.
And like maybe also on that, like a footnote, like how has your network grown in the last year too? Like,
yeah,
because at the COJA event at Franco-Cité, like there were folks that we have worked with for many years and then maybe are now kind of like exiting our ecosystem of Youth Ottawa. But we saw Drayton speaking and moderating the event.
Yeah.
You know, Frank Malik was there, like doing things, you know, so maybe you can describe like what that network around you has been and how it's evolved over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like ever since I think the origin story of networking to me in my life was essentially I was a part of a business program like in the summer before 12th grade, and basically from that time till kind of first year of university was really when I kind of started to, you know, introduce myself to people. I got more comfortable with like networking events and going out to do things and like getting those initial introductions. But then I think the last year has really been a question of building relationships beyond that. So I was actually having conversations with a friend of mine yesterday about this. Like, it's important to, you know, introduce yourself to people, to have people recognize your name, but also like the step beyond that, that's important in networking, is to actually build those relationships.
Right.
So one major difference between the COJA game last year and the COJA game this year is that last year it was a lot of thinking, okay, who can we contact? Kind of throwing darts at the wall. We weren't really sure from everything from, you know, where we're going to buy water bottles to who's going to be the MC. We had no idea really who to talk to. We were just trying things. But now we have a list of contacts. It's a phone call away to kind of fix a lot of issues, you know? Right. So as a specific example, actually, for the, like, we're making custom t-shirts for Team Now and Team Next for the COJA game. Nice. We wanted to make like a custom design and everything, but obviously whenever you want to do that online, very long shipping times, very long wait times, and it's a headache to deal with. What did we do? We looked at our contacts, and Anya, who's a part of Ottawa Youth Council, she has a t-shirt business. So
she's also won 21 under 21 award.
Exactly, yeah. So through those connections, I pretty much gave her a call, saw if she'd be able to make the t-shirts, and now we're getting the entirety of probably around 30 t-shirts from her through that. So I guess just being able to have those relationships with people, and it's a lot more of a conversation of how can we work together instead of like, what do I need from you? You know, so that's been probably the biggest difference over the last year in terms of the network, and it's been fun.
The line of the podcast, I think, is your silo line. Can we hear that again?
Oh man, I mean, it's just, to me, I love the concept of synergy. I love the concept of collaboration. Like, some of my friends literally make fun of me because I use those words so much, but I guess that idea of silos really only belong like out in the farm in a situation where we're able to kind of work together, where there's so many people that want to do what's best for the community. To do anything outside of build bridges, build relationships, and work together is just not only inefficient, but it's just far from ideal, and it's hurting the youth at the end of the day, right? So I think the number one, there's this concept in research or academia. Before you ever do any research paper, you go to a study, the first thing you do is you do a literature review. You see what's been done, what exists, so you avoid doing duplications and replications. If you see there is an issue, then you try to come in with your solution, but there's still a lot to be learned from and gained from collaborations with others. So yeah, I'd say the number one recommendation I'd have from this conversation is, if you have an idea, instead of just going to do it right away, spend a little bit of time, just talk to people that might be able to help you, that might be able to tell you, oh, this person is doing this exact same thing and going to potentially work with them. So that's the number one thing.
And you know what, I'm also lucky to have some really good mentors and those intergenerational synergies. You know, one of which we're recording this podcast at Full Script Canada's headquarters in this beautiful room. But like a lot of what you thought it was trying to do, and also, you know, open up synergies for youth is probably, it would be a lot more difficult if we didn't have a partner like Full Script helping us out, right?
Yeah.
They've kind of opened up some facilities and also some connections that are, you know, otherwise we wouldn't have gotten, and they've led to some great things. So like we're, you know, I think as a city we want to change the narrative, and I certainly put myself in this camp where we're a city that takes action. We're the first supporters. We're the first champions. We don't wait for everyone else to do something before we jump in. So, you know, Youth Ottawa, on behalf of Youth Ottawa, we're super pumped to watch you develop, to do the community work you're doing, and to support everything you're putting your energy into. So that's a wrap of this Empower Hour. Not a full hour, but it's awesome to talk to you, and wish you the best of luck next Friday. Again, visit social media, koja.beaconhill on Instagram. We're going to be sharing it on Youth Ottawa, but we hope to see you at the game next Friday.
See you courtside.